12 phrases women say if she wants to get intimate with you. After this video, you won't second-guess yourself again. These 12 phrases are how women show. They want more emotionally, physically, and yes, intimately. Know how to respond and everything. Shifts especially with the last one. That phrase, that's the one that starts everything. One you always smell really good. She doesn't just mean your cologne. She means you, your skin, your presence. The way being near you activates something primal. When a woman says this unprompted lightly, maybe even mid-conversation, it's not a casual compliment. It's a sensory slip one that tells you she's paying attention to your body. Not just your words, she's imagined being close enough to inhale. You possibly already has, possibly wants more. And here's where most men fumble. They laugh it off or say thanks. It's just deodorant. But that kills the charge. Here's the move: lean in slightly. Lock eyes for half a second longer than usual. Then, say you'd be surprised what other senses get stronger when you're around me. Let it hang. It's confident, it mirrors her sensory language, and it subtly puts the idea of closeness, physical, intimate, electric in the air between you. Because when she comments on how you smell, she's already closer to you in her mind than her words let on. 2, I don't know why, but I feel really safe around you. This one hides in plain sight. It sounds sweet, innocent, even friend-zoning if you don't listen closely. But if she says this while sitting near you on a couch, or while walking next to you at night, or while looking at you, after a pause in conversation, she's not talking about safety. In the general sense, she's talking about permission. Intimacy for many women doesn't start with attraction. It starts with safety. The sense that they can unfold a little more, laugh a little louder, touch a little longer, let go without fear. So when she says, I don't know why, but I feel safe around you, she's testing the water. She's telling you there's a part of me that wants to let go with you. What would happen if I did? How to respond. Don't get all knight in shining armor. Don't promise to protect her. Just say something like that's the best compliment you could give me. Most people don't realize how rare it is to feel that with someone that affirms her. It creates emotional resonance, and it keeps the door open for her to go further physically or emotionally without feeling like she's doing something reckless. 3. You're trouble, aren't you? This one sounds playful, like a tease, like something a woman might say with a smirk and a twinkle in her eye. And that's exactly why most men brush it off like a joke. But here's the key when she says you're trouble. What she's really doing is projecting her own desire onto you because it feels safer than admitting it directly. She's the one who feels a spark. She's the one imagining scenarios, but instead of saying, I'm feeling something, she flips it and says, you're making me feel something. And that's a gateway, a flirty scapegoat, because now if something happens between you two, you're the one who's trouble, not her. How to respond. Keep your voice low, smile, then say you have no idea, but you'd still want to find out. It's cocky, but with warmth, it teases without pressuring. It lets her lean into the energy she already feels without having to justify it to herself. And that makes it safe for her to explore what she's already thinking about. 4. I probably shouldn't be telling you this, but this phrase isn't about the content that comes after it. It's about the act of saying it. When a woman drops this line, what she's really saying is, I'm testing what kind of tension we can hold together. She wants to reveal something just a little bit edgy, a little private, maybe a story about a past experience, a dream, a fantasy, or even just a detail that hints at her more vulnerable, sensual side. It's not a full reveal. It's a leak, and it's designed to see, can you handle this part of me without flinching? If you brush it off or treat it like a confession, she'll retreat. But if you stay present and don't overreact, she'll trust you more. How to respond: maintain eye contact, slow your voice, then say, I won't judge. I like when people show me the parts they usually keep to themselves. You've just invited her to go deeper, not just emotionally, but physically too, because now she knows you can hold the weight of who she really is, and that includes her desire. 5. You're nothing like other guys I've met. At first glance, this seems like a vague compliment, something people say when they're just being nice. But here's the trick: the context makes the meaning. If she says this after you've said something thoughtful or after a long conversation where you didn't try to steer it sexual or when you didn't hit on her even though she expected it, that's when this phrase becomes code. It means you're making me feel something I didn't expect and I don't know what to do with it yet. Because most women are used to one of two types of men: the ones who chase too hard and the ones who barely show interest. But when you hold the middle, when you're confident present and not trying to win her, it disrupts her whole model. That disruption creates attraction, and that attraction feels different. Less like a spark, more like a slow burning fuse. How to respond, say, "Good, I'd be worried if I reminded you of them." It's a line that flips the script. You're not grateful for the compliment, you're confirming it, and that makes you even more magnetic, because the more she sees you as unlike anyone else, the more she wonders what else about you is different behind closed doors. 6. What would your ex say you were like in a relationship? This question doesn't come from nowhere. It's not random curiosity. It's reconnaissance. When a woman asks you about your ex or what you're like when you're committed, she's doing two things. She's imagining being in that role, and she's figuring out if you're emotionally and physically available. But here's the hidden part. Most guys miss this question isn't always about love. Sometimes it's about what kind of lover you are. She might not say it directly, but underneath the relationship language, what she's really asking is, are you the kind of man I could trust to explore something physical with without it turning into a mess? So how you answer tells her everything. How to respond. Avoid trashing your ex. Avoid bragging. Instead, say something like, she'd probably say I was passionate. A little intense sometimes, but always made her feel wanted. That last part is key. Made her feel wanted. That's the hook. It plants the idea of being with you in her mind, not just emotionally, but physically. 7. You're dangerous. This isn't about fear, it's about tension, the good kind, the magnetic kind, the you make me feel something I can't fully control kind. When a woman looks at you and says you're dangerous, she's not talking about your driving record or your past mistakes. She's talking about energy. The pull the way being around you shakes her equilibrium, just enough to make her wonder what would happen if she let go. It's a phrase women use when desire starts to bypass logic, when the usual social filters get fuzzy, when the feeling of, I probably shouldn't starts to compete with, but I really want to. She says dangerous, because it allows her to keep one foot in caution while inching the other closer to the edge. How to respond? Don't downplay it. Don't. Ask why, instead lean into the tension with a smirk and say only to people who ignore their instincts. This makes her question what her instincts are telling her right now, and chances are they're saying move closer. That's when dangerous becomes an invitation, not a warning. 8. I feel like I can tell you anything. This is one of those sleeper phrases. It doesn't sound flirty or sexual. It sounds like a friendship milestone, but don't be fooled. When she says this, something deeper is happening. Openness is one of the primary precursors to intimacy for women. If she can speak freely, let her guard down, confess things she wouldn't normally share. She's not just talking, she's testing emotional safety. And if she feels emotionally safe, her body will eventually follow. What makes this phrase powerful is that it signals a shift. She's saying, I've stopped evaluating you. I've started imagining myself with you. It also means you've passed the test, the one most guys don't even know they're taking. How to respond. Hold eye contact, lower your voice just slightly. Then say, I like that. Most people hide more than they realize. That answer tells her you're not afraid of intimacy in conversation, in energy, or in closeness. It makes her lean further, in, and once she's in that state of full expression, touch, closeness, and connection aren't far behind. 9. You're so hard to read sometimes. Now this is a tell in disguise. At first, it might sound like a critique, like she's annoyed or unsure, but in reality, this is a woman trying to solve a mystery you and realizing she can't. That's not a bad thing. It's magnetic, because when she says you're hard to read, she's not just confused, she's curious, and curiosity is one of the strongest catalysts for desire. She's thinking about your reactions, your silence, the way you look at her and don't say everything. She's wondering if you're into her. She's wondering how far things could go and not having a clear answer. Makes her imagination run wild. How to respond, smile, stay quiet for a beat, then say, maybe you're just not reading me with the right lens. It's mysterious, it's lightly challenging, and it creates a frame where she wants to figure you out even. More because the more she leans in to decode you, the closer she gets to discovering what you're like when the signals are no longer mixed. 10. I never do this kind of thing. This is one of the most revealing phrases a woman can say, especially if it comes out of nowhere during or right before a moment of closeness. It might be in response to a long hug, a moment of silence charged with energy, or even when the two of you are alone in a setting that feels a little too perfect. What she's really saying is, I want to do this, but part of me is scared it means something I can't control. I never do this kind of thing isn't a denial, it's a confession, a pre-apology for what she hopes happens next, a way to preserve her identity while, still acting on impulse. This phrase gives her a psychological out, but it also signals a green light with caution tape around it. How to respond, don't tease her, don't say, oh, sure you don't, that ruins the moment. Instead say, then let's not. Do it like it's just a thing, let's do it like it's something worth remembering. That line is velvet-wrapped gravity. It gives her permission to lean into what she's feeling, not because she's reckless, but because it feels meaningful, and that's the kind of intimacy women crave most. Not just touch, but the feeling that it matters. 11. I like that you don't try so hard. You might hear this and think it's generic, that it's just another way of saying you're chill. But this phrase holds something special, especially if you hear it after she's been around other men who were clearly trying to impress her. Here's the deal when a woman says, I like that you don't try so hard. What she's really saying is, you're not seeking my validation and that makes me want to give it. There's an erotic tension in restraint, in subtlety, in not putting everything on display. It makes her wonder what's beneath the surface, what you're like when you finally decide to try. Because if this is you on autopilot, what would it feel like to be the one who makes you shift gears? How to respond. Look at her smirk and say trying is overrated, but I'll show effort when it's earned. Now you've just turned it into a challenge. She wants to see what it looks like when you do try. She wants to know what it takes to unlock that deeper, more focused version of you. And in most cases, that desire turns physical very fast. 12. I feel like you see through me. This is not a phrase women toss out casually. When it comes, it usually shows up in moments of softness after a deep conversation or a long pause, or when eye contact lingers just a little too long. It's not about being watched. It's about being understood. When a woman says this, she's saying, you're bypassing my armor, and that scares me, but I like it. Most of the time, women operate behind layers, social personas, emotional filters, but every now and then, someone comes along who doesn't buy the performance, who hears what's not being said. And when she says, I feel like you see through me, it means you've touched something raw, something real, something intimate without even laying a finger. How to respond. Don't downplay it. Don't joke. Just say, maybe I'm not looking at the version you show everyone else. That single sentence tells her you see the real her, not just the surface, not just the pretty version. And that more than physical touch is what makes a woman want to fully open up to you. Because being seen is the most intimate experience there is.